Welcome to 13. Let's go. So, I got two things I want to talk about on Uber Eats and DoorDash related. They're two features that just launched this week. Or one of them launched last week. I'm sorry about that. One of them launched this week. One of them launched in all 11,000 markets for Uber Eats. And one of them is a new rollout for DoorDash. I'm not sure how many markets it's in. The only place the Uber Eats one isn't is Montreal, Quebec, or in Quebec, I think the whole continent. So let me go through those real quick, but then we're going to hit on. I'm going to break down some math for the Minneapolis rideshare change, and I'm not saying I have the answers, but I would like you guys to listen to the math that I'm going to break down because I spent some time here really breaking it down so I can explain it very well. And we'll see what you think. I'm really interested. Hey guys, if you have questions about the first two things I'm going to talk about with the delivery platforms, please leave them in the comments below. Any questions, comments, or concerns, as well as the story I will say about the rideshare in Minneapolis. And even if you don't do rideshare, please stick around and leave comments on what you think. If you just even work in the gig economy but don't do rideshare, this should matter to you because this is the way a lot of things are going with some legislation and stuff. We'll get to that in 1 second. First, let's roll through these. They won't take long. So Uber Eats is now doing a live location sharing feature, Uber Eats that is, but this isn't like the old days of Uber and me being able to share with my son where I am in real time. So if he wants to see or your significant other wants to monitor your ride and make sure you're okay, they could do that. Same thing they've done a few times, rolled it out for passengers where they can allow somebody to follow them to make sure. So there's some safety features. This is different. And they rolled it out in all 6 continents, 11,000 markets, except for Quebec, Canada. So here's what it is. Uber Eats new live location sharing feature. So customer places order. Let's say that they're not at home. Let's say that they're at a park. Kim's side money plans pointed out a beach because in near her market are beaches, and this wouldn't work. But let's say that it's like a park. Somebody's ordering some Uber Eats to the park. They tell me where. I know where to go, all this. But here's the thing. So now they want the customer to put all this in. And so the order comes in, I pick it up. I'm the driver, driving to the customer. When I'm 3 minutes away from the customer, they will say, I'm 3 minutes away. Make sure that you are at the drop point. So now the customer has to open the app and look specifically where the pin is, because it might be where they are. But let's be honest, a lot of these platforms, a lot of times when you drop the pin, it's not exact, right? Or you might bump it even and move it over a little bit. So anyway, let's just look at it this way and say, okay, so now they've dropped a pin. I'm 3 minutes away. They get an alert about it. Do they see it? I don't know. But now, until they're within 100 meters of the pin drop, I won't know where they are. So to me, this is a big blow up. If you want to know more about it, you can check out Thursday's live. We talked about this and the next story I'm about to talk about. But we talked about this, and to me, I can't find one perk of it. I'm always for exploring new ideas, but this is a full rollout. This isn't a market rollout to test it like usual. This is across the whole world, and I'm not really sure what this is going to do for people. In fact, we came up with a couple of situations that could go the other way and be negative. So check out Thursday's roundtable if you want, from just a couple days ago. And we got into a lot of this. So the other feature is DoorDash's. Okay, I know DoorDash is doing, and this is driving me nuts, because we are expecting tons of AI rollouts and things like that, right? But they're doing AI-powered SafeChat Plus, they're calling it. So a tool that automatically detects verbal abuse. Well, okay. If I'm a DoorDash driver and there's verbal abuse within a text or somebody's called me, I'm gonna call customer service and let them know. I mean, will they deactivate the person? Again, we talked about it on the roundtable, and Kim gave an example of she actually went through the steps of having to somebody called her and was beyond rude, saying crazy stuff, and then through the text. And she normally might not have done this, but she did it on one customer. A week later, she got that same customer. So not only was he not deactivated, he wasn't even put out of her range of potential drivers. But I mean, like, really, he should be deactivated if it was that bad. And she said it was. So again, go back to that and watch, because here's my thing. What we all can take screenshots of chat. We if there's a problem, we're worried about it because we all talk different. There's different slangs where we live and whatnot. So maybe something doesn't offend us as bad as others. My thing is, if you're gonna have this AI safe chat, instead of that, why don't you put in there for the people putting their Cash App and saying, if you want to tip me extra, here's my Cash App. Why don't you look for things like that and deactivate drivers who are using Cash App to try and get these extra tips? I've been reading about it a lot now. And again, we talked about that on Wednesday. But now let me get to the heart of the piece today. So you guys are probably familiar. Minneapolis, Minnesota. The rideshare for Uber and Lyft was in turmoil last year. They tried to get this kicked through. It was a kind of like a long fight. Everybody finally got on board, and then the congressman ended it. And that was his first veto of his career. Well, now it's back, and the mayor vetoed it, but the group, the city council, overrode the veto. So starting on May 1st, there's going to be some changes in the Minneapolis market. That's 6 weeks away from now, you guys. So in 6 weeks, this changes. I will already start this by saying Uber and Lyft have said they will leave Minneapolis on May 1st. It's not a hey, if this is, it's already a date. And I think that's the effective date for this going into effect. And so that will be their first day gone. I know there's some I've even read the articles. They're trying to get some Republicans to pass some other version because it is pretty extreme. And I want to get your guys' take on this. So I'm going to put up on screen the changes, and then I'm going to give you an example from here in Denver that I did with miles and time and stuff today. So bear with me here. So this is the current rideshare rate in Minneapolis. And yes, it doesn't look good. And I'm all for rideshare drivers and gig workers getting more money. I think we should. So let's look. So you can look at the base fare, and estimated surcharges, estimated, of course, booking fee, like okay. But for the driver, the per minute rate in Minneapolis is 20 cents a minute, and it's 86 cents per mile. Okay, so forget about these numbers for a minute because we'll get back to them. I mean, the total number and the base fares and stuff, but okay. The new per minute rate as of May 1st that they have pushed through is 51 cents per minute and $1.40 per mile. Now, I'm not against paying more, but we need to discuss something. So this is Minneapolis, but I'm going to give you guys an example of where I am because we are very much alike with Minneapolis, Denver. And so Boulder to the Denver International Airport is a very often used rideshare with both Uber and Lyft. So I'm going to give you that example. I used a pin drop in downtown Denver or downtown Boulder to the airport. It's 49 miles. Okay. Now, when I did this today, it was Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and there was no traffic. Okay, so again, that just means this would be the best case scenario. It only gets more expensive and more, the driver would earn more. But let's just play with the no traffic on a Saturday at 1. So 49 miles, 52 minutes right now with no traffic at all. So the current driver pay for that, again, I'm taking the Minneapolis model and bringing it here to Denver or to Boulder to airport. Current driver pay for that on this 20 cents per minute, 86 cents per mile comes out to $52.54. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not great, but I mean, yeah, it's a little raise would be great. Now, 49 miles and 52 minutes on a Saturday again at 1 p.m. with no traffic, so as good as it gets. Um, at 51 cents per minute and $1.40 per mile comes out to $95.12. So $52.54 is what the driver would make now. May 1st, if Uber and Lyft don't compromise and we're not going to leave, the driver would make 95.12. That means that the driver is getting 83% more than they would. I'm all for more money to the drivers. I'm wondering if maybe they've overstepped, because this means the driver gets 83% more of the trip. And I know all this is sounding great right now. At first glance, it appears the customer will pay 25% more. I ran this per trip, and I ran this in a couple of scenarios. It was between 23 and 26% with like 7 scenarios. So in different towns, everything to the airport. So let's call it just 25%, because that was pretty much what it was. Which is fair. And that is what Uber should take and Lyft should take. But do you think Uber will add more line items and increase that estimated pay on each ride so that they make more? Or do you think that they would just accept 25%? Obviously, they won't. And that's why they said May 1st they'll leave. So operating costs, insurance, I think they figured it as that's not a win for us. Now, I know there was a time when the customers were paying a lot more too. Now the customers will be paying a lot more. Oversaturation will be even worse. And now I'm afraid. So to the customers, they're going to pay 25% more right now if Uber and Lyft were to stay, but they're not. So that means Uber and Lyft are planning on adding other line items. That's going to mean potentially 40% more to the customers. So here's what I say. Again, Uber and Lyft say they're leaving. But if they do find some wiggle room here, it's going to be because they get their take up to 40%. Any thoughts on this? Because we're going to be talking about a lot of legislation. It's all starting to roll out now, so we have a lot of discussions to do. Please leave your comments, questions, concerns below in the comments. I love them on 13. Please, you guys, I respond to everyone. Might take me a day at most, but I do. And that's 13 minutes of gig news in just under 13 minutes.